I spent the night at my best friend's house. A girl, was staying at my best friend's house, sleeping on the floor of their living room in a queen-sized bed. I didn't realize he'd fallen asleep on the same bed until after midnight. I awoke because I was having difficulty breathing, as if something was blocking my face. It was then that I realized my best friend's head was on my face and our position was similar to spooning him, except I wasn't hugging him. I got really nervous, I'm not sure why, my heart was pounding so hard, I tried to move away from him and fall back asleep. A minute or so later, he also moves backward, towards me. And here we are, in the same position. I can't move any further away from him because I'm already on the edge of the bed, so I let it be and tried to sleep again, despite the fact that my heartbeat is still racing. He moved away from me after several awkward minutes of smelling his hair, which smells nice, by the way, ha 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 ha. I didn't try to bring it up the next morning or talk about it. I just pretended it didn't happen because I was embarrassed about how nervous I was at the time and didn't know what to do, ha 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 ha. Also, he's a guy from a very conservative family. My haven. I should have known better, known I wouldn't be able to stay away. That when I confided in him and he looked at me with an understanding that could only be achieved through similar lived experience, that he would possess my very soul. When he embraced me, holding me close, holding me so tightly as though to keep me from falling to pieces, as I verged on tears, telling me everything would be okay. I was a goner. When he gave me his number, if I ever needed him, I knew full well I never could use it. For the moment I allowed myself that grace, I would never stop needing him. That the feel of his body around mine and the clean, comforting smell of him, would be the senses I would continue to chase for the rest of my days. Even still, that sometimes I fool myself into thinking I'm over it, over him. That it was just a fleeting feeling, a passing moment. And then I catch myself staring into space, trying beyond reason to conjure that moment in mind, and worst of all working myself up to tell him, only to come back to the reality of why I absolutely cannot. I remind myself he's not perfect, he can't be. He has flaws, and that's inevitably what I'm drawn to in people. I'm a fixer, a caregiver, an open bleeding heart laid bare to help everyone but myself. And still I would give the rest of my what could be's for one day spent in his arms, in his bed, in his heart for only the moment when we make love. But that will never come to pass. He could never see me that way. He's just kind and sweet and I'm broken. Broken in ways that he probably sees better than most. Broken in places that no amount of love can ever fix. And he deserves better. He deserves easier, deserves someone who wouldn't bargain away their eternity for a singular moment. But he's worth it, to me. Worth the prospect of finally, blessedly, pressing my lips to his, and feeling the palm of his hand press into mine. Worth risking everything to feel his skin on mine without barriers, run my fingers over his cheeks, prickled by his beard, tracing absent-minded patterns on his arms, with my head nuzzle into his chest. A single night of passion, seeing his beautiful eyes and perfect lips squeeze so tightly when I give him every carnal pleasure I am able, over and over, as many times as he'll allow me. I truly thought this feeling would dissipate, but it only seems to have been returned stronger, with a vengeance. I want so insanely bad to know him intimately that sometimes I awake from dreams of him sobbing and shudders from the ache of the absence of his presence. I didn't know anything could feel like this, and yet it seems to be my recent natural state. If I'm not talking or listening to him, I'm talking myself down from texting or thinking of him. His very existence all-consuming, and the release cannot come soon enough, in one form or another. I must let it all go, chalk it up to fate's cruelty, or risk losing my very sanity in a quest for what will never come to pass. My ex-girlfriend lied to my face. So, my ex-girlfriend, which we dated for 6 months, dumped me last week, and while she was in the process of splitting us up, this was in person BTW because it's respectful, she said, and I quote, "I just think it's a bit early for me to start dating," and not even a week later she asked out my friend. Which is honestly just absolute bullshit. Like, if you say something you should actually mean it instead of just lying to the person's face and then going completely against what you said to that person. So now I'm doubting myself and wondering if she was just using me as a way to get to him because he's one of my close friends. So yeah. To be honest, the nicest way I'm gonna put this is that she is no longer open to me at all. I'm not giving her another chance and that ship has sailed. 22, am considering selling my body for money. Now believe I'm not proud of this thought. It came to a point where it's my only option. This year has been absolute SHD, and I know it's gonna sound very unrealistic, but imagine how I feel. I broke it up with my abusive fiancé, BF of 8 years, moved to a different city, found out I had spinal cancer, didn't tell anyone until my operation. Now mind you, I had some family, my mom that just got out of jail 3 weeks before that after 8 years, or my dad, which I never speak to. I have been out of my dad's house since 15 years old. I think that says enough. It was hard. I mean, I was in denial and had no support. Not really. I still lived with my roommate, but she turned out to be insane, always had parties. When I got sick it got even worse. So I considered going to my dad. I moved there for one day. He beat me up. He got angry at me for standing up for myself. Mind you, my operation was in 1 week and I was couch hopping at friends after my operation, still nothing. When I finally after my operation found a studio I was relieved, had to a lot, but it was for the best. Now money was hard. I do get some money from my job BC of my contract, but only 60%. Now I always been responsible, but being sick is expensive and my buffer is only so big. I start with my radiation and I'm absolutely drained overall. I still haven't processed having spinal cancer and all the pain and stress. I haven't been able to at all be even grateful that I'm able to be here still. At this point I'm so tired and I need the money, otherwise I can't pay rent. Now yes, I'm sick and lost a lot of weight, but I'm 22 and still look good, so yes, I'm thinking of selling my body. If I wasn't as sick I could take extra jobs, but I can't. I'm not even allowed to. I'm just writing this BC. I'm feeling disgusted by the choice I want to make, and try to justify that. My boyfriend's mom sent me a screenshot of the post I made about him on a bedroom advice subreddit asking if I wrote it. I admitted to it and haven't told him. My boyfriend and I have been having some relationship problems, so as you do, I made a Reddit post seeking advice. But I was too specific about things that were needed for context: our ages, his job, the layout of our flat, etc., things that wouldn't make me identifiable to anyone who really knew me. Like her. I have no idea how she found it, but I ranted to her about everything except the problems we have in bed. Because why would I? And she sent me a screenshot of my post, asking if I wrote it. Oh no. I ended up deleting the entire account as well as the post in a panic. My username and profile picture were also inappropriate. Cringe. It was so obviously about us, so I had no choice but to confess. She told me that it sounded just like us and that she got really sad whilst reading it. So I have her empathy, great. But now she knows her son's kinks, that he's into BDSM, and the length of his thing. I met up with her the next day, but neither of us discussed the Reddit post. She messages me to check in about the non-naughty side of the situation, which is massively appreciated, but I feel awfully guilty. Truthfully, I really needed advice on what to do, since talking to my boyfriend myself just wasn't working. But hiding the fact that his mom knows all this stuff that a mother shouldn't know about her son is killing me. And then there's the fear of her showing him the screenshot, me admitting to it and me ranting to her. Major lose-lose for me. Take away from my mistake, people don't need every little bit of context to offer advice.